Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, June 15th. We know there's a couple people watching because a couple people said hello on the chat. We're recovering from E3 and we're doing such a good job I forgot to even switch over to the Americas account. So right here at the beginning, let me switch over to my Americas account. So, while there is a decent amount of games and tabs to cover today, there actually isn't very many daily quests because they've gotten so easy that I'm kind of in a weird position. Let's go ahead and trade out this one because 15 turns is insanely easy. I decided to go into the classic set and spend my dust according to HS Replay's recommendations, at least in part. What I started with was there was, I believe, the 2-mana legendary that is spell damage plus. Here, let's go crafting mode while we're here. Spell damage plus 1. That's a basic card, and I'm not seeing it. Here it is. I crafted this with dust. The Blood Mage. Thalanos. Spell damage plus 1, death rattle, draw a card. Pretty good card, in my opinion. And particularly since I'm only just trying to fill up and have a complete collection on standard deck cards, which we're getting there, certainly. 1600 dust for this one, or 50 card packs, whichever happens first. 1600 dust for that one, or 50 card packs. 1600 dust for this one, and or 50 card packs and 1600 dust for that one. So you're talking 64,000 dust. No, just 6,400, 6,400 dust, and then that's it. That's the entire basic collection completed. And if Unguru at that point starts to make sense, which it probably would a little bit, and packs are still available, then we start buying packs for Unguru, going for Primordial Drake. Take note that Primordial Drake is getting played a lot right now. As soon as that one, as soon as the next year happens, in about a year, once that goes away, the whole game is going to pretty considerably change. Frozen Throne, on the other hand, is the next expansion, but it too, I think, would go away in the next year. And if we lose Frozen Throne, then we lose a lot of characters that I haven't been able to really play with at all, but I kind of would like to have in some wild play. But let's assume that those two both are not available for purchase. Maybe I get kobolds, but honestly, I probably would skip kobolds, and I probably would skip Witchwood, and just in the next expansion try to get a complete collection of whatever the next expansion is and get from there. And once I also have a complete collection, we start to think about, do I want to try and get these wild cards, because that certainly is going to be expensive. Like if I try to go back and get all the goblins versus gnomes, I would have to get them, I think, 100% with dust. I don't think there's any way to buy these old card packs. No, you can buy these old card packs from the website, but then that's really spending money, and that's where you are forced at this point to play any of these card expansions of the ones that are actually card expansions and not solo play things. You would have to, I suppose, just spend more money than you'd want. Okay. So I'm looking here. Spectral Priest was the highest thing I could make. Period. I think. Like, I don't think on HS Replay there is any other deck with the cards I have that I could make. In standard, I assume I was only looking at standard, and without spending, I think I put the filter up to 3600 dust, even though I only had close to 2200 dust. And so there was one card that I was missing, I believe. Let's see if I can even see and remember which one it was. It may have been that one, but yeah, I don't even know. And so Spectral Priest, much like Mid-Range Hunter, is supposed to be one that is going to get me victories. Meanwhile, 15 turns, 20 spells, so it would make sense to play that. At a certain point, I should just play ranked. Like, I'm up to rank 19. I should just try to keep going to ranked. I don't really see a reason to spend 150 and play an arena. I don't see a real reason to try and play the solo experiences on the European or Asian accounts to get the card back from the monster hunts.
Anduin versus Jaina.
Like, so those are the only things I could even think of. My other account certainly has some work to do, but I can't stream my other account. But also I don't really care about my other account, so that's that. Let's move on. First game we have for this recording is called Perceptions of the Dead 2 on Steam. I like the art style. It's definitely doing something slightly different. This is tagged as an action, indie, visual novel, horror, fantasy. And the text is in little text boxes. Not text boxes, but text bubbles, which gives me some hope that this game actually doesn't have that much text. It also says it has full audio, which is interesting. It's English only, and I suspect it's probably not that long. It's 10% off for $7.19. And let's see, it has 3 positive reviews and 0 negative reviews. So the thing about this game is going to come down to how much is their other game rated, because that'll be the thing. That'll be the factor as far as the first game. Like, because you're not going to play Perceptions of the Dead 1 with 2 without playing 1, and Perceptions of the Dead 1 is 54% positive of 217 user reviews, and it's free. This developer also has made several other games that seem like they very particularly deserve some interest, at least. So this whole game like development. I'm gonna have to wish list all of these. A fully voice acted visual novel type game that doesn't have a ton of text is exactly what I'm looking for. It's probably exactly not what fans of visual novels are looking for, though, to be fair. But it is what I'm looking for as a YouTuber who would have to read the text aloud or sit there and look foolish and have no commentary. I'm not sure how much commentary I could put, though, in a visual novel in the first place. They for the most part are just animated comic books, and I've seen Marvel and DC do things like that where you are very much trying to transition an audience to comic books that aren't actually that interested in playing or reading comic books.
Is someone injured?
Let's see. Okay, next game I have on Steam is called Sky Noon. It's rated positive, 96% of 27 user reviews. It's an early access action indie western first-person shooter, which is not exactly what I would call it to describe it, because it's not so much just a first-person shooter as it is a dual-wielding game. If you were in the vein of Smash Brothers, you're on these little islands, these that have western towns on them. Let's see. Let's go ahead and heal and attack. So you're shooting people with the gun in your right hand, and you're skyhooking with a skyhook gun with your left hand. Seems like you potentially could also skyhook enemies with the gun, with the skyhook gun. I don't know how much playability this would really have, particularly in single player, but this early access game does look like it's slightly interesting. However, since it seems like it is mostly going to be a multiplayer game, I'm going to have to keep that in mind when I look at it. However, I'm feeling really generous today, so I think I'll wishlist this. It looks good. It looks like a slight spin on what you would get from Smash Brothers to an audience who aren't going to get Smash Brothers, in the sense that Smash Brothers is not coming to PC. They're keeping it simple. They're not trying to introduce ridiculous different classes as much as different weapons. It's 10% off for $13.49. Requires a special end-user license agreement. I hate that. It is the first game for this developer, so this could be a lot of flash with no substance. But the publisher is also the same publisher that published Shadowgate 2014, which is rated positive, and Primal Carnage, and several other games, Sherlock Holmes games. They have more positively reviewed games they've published than negative, and that gives me more confidence about this game, Sky Noon. So yeah, I'll have to double check certainly to see if they intend to
Meddlesome insects.
If single player is actually something. Let's see. Interesting.
I wonder.
Okay. Attack and rush. One attack. I should have played this first. Alright, moving on. Gamasutra has an article called "It's Not What It Looks Like: A Windows Aesthetic for a Speculative Sex Game." Basically, as I scrolled down through this, it seems like the game is giving you instructions to slide a Windows volume meter up and down and set to specific points. And then in just a Windows window that looks like from Windows 3.1 or Windows 95, it's giving you responses and talking about how well you slid that volume meter. It's a really stupid concept, and clearly this is just one of those articles that's clickbait. I mean, you can't really call it anything else. It's dumb. And this is one of those blog Gamasutra articles that isn't even written by anybody who works for Gamasutra. So moving on. Win streak bonus. Next game we have on Steam is called Strive, S-T-R-I-V-E. It says it's an early access strategy, action, adventure RPG. But what is it really? Like, it seems like it's a very zoomed out, top down.
Begin. The light shall bring victory.
Like, I think you'd call it maybe a dungeon crawler, but it's seems like it's kind of a asset flip game. Nothing here looks great or well textured or fully populated. It's an early access for 20% off for $9.59, and let's see, it's only online multiplayer for some kind of competitive player versus player mechanic, so it's not even a dungeon crawler. It just kind of looks like something like that. Yeah, I don't see anything in that looks interesting. First game from this developer too. I don't know why people even think about making online games as their first game. That's another argument that if Steam was going to censor anything, and I'm still very much of the opinion that I agree with Steam's decision to not censor anything. I think that works just fine.
Right away.
But if they were going to censor anything, perhaps saying new developers you have to have a single player experience would be a requirement. Because that's not really a requirement on content or quality, other than to say we truly absolutely want you to have a game that we think would stand a chance of actually selling. and we don't want you wasting your time making an online multiplayer game only when we know that's not going to play very well, or it's not going to have very much content. That being said, a lot of companies certainly do make online games and esports games because they don't want to make a lot of storyline and content or characterizations. So much so, in fact, it turns out that from what I heard from Giant Bomb, Beyond Good and Evil 2 is nothing like Beyond Good and Evil 1. Apparently the entire universe in Beyond Good and Evil 2 is full of clones. The Jade and Pig creature, I don't know what his name is, that we saw in that trailer are actually maybe the characters in this prequel that we see for Beyond Good and Evil, but they are not the characters you play as. You actually play as a random clone that you get to choose, and there's you're probably just going to get missions from the characters we're seeing in the trailer. So they're not making a platformer or an action game or anything like that. They're making, or at least attempting to make, and it shows that more than likely Beyond Good and Evil 2 has been reset yet again, and they had no idea what they were actually making. They're making an MMO, basically. Whether or not it actually has online components, it's in the spirit of things an MMO. Let's see, this, and then this. I don't want to die yet. And yeah, that game. So you have on one hand Beyond Good and Evil 2 trying to get people to hit record to make content for them, or make speculative content that they might accept and they might pay some small pittance to, but no actual information about how much you'd get paid or any guarantee of payment for your work if they reject your offer. There we go.
Be reborn in the curse!
So yeah, don't hold your breath on Beyond Good and Evil 2. It's only being called Beyond Good and Evil 2, it seems like, because of people asking where's Beyond Good and Evil 2. It's set sort of in the same world, but the world has changed, the graphics have changed, the gameplay mechanic seems like it's going to change. Yeah. And that's one of the few examples where it still is useful for me to listen to Giant Bomb, because honestly there's a lot of times where I think I'd probably be better off just not listening to them. But this is one of those incidences where it would be it is actually better for me to have gotten that information, and that information was only portrayed in two people who weren't at E3, so that's a small argument that E3 still has a little bit of reason to exist. That being said, even a lot of the other the mainstream video game media people were saying, yeah, that it more and more feels like it's a waste of time to go to E3. Let's see. So yeah, Beyond Good and Evil 3, probably also the only article or information I heard about a game that was really anything different. I wouldn't be surprised if Crackdown 3 also was a drastically different game. Like, that really wouldn't surprise me at all. Okay, charge and charge. So we take one and then we kill the other. And that saves me one more turn. Moving on, Your Gamer has an article. Nintendo's Lost Arcade Oddity Sky Skipper is coming to the Switch, and Donkey Kong is out today in the arcade archives. So I've never even heard of Sky Skipper, which that's pretty crazy. So it might have been only on the Famicom. It might have been an extremely low release arcade game. Okay, I have this and this, or this and this.
You are the Shadow's puppet.
Yeah, that's probably all I can do.
Well played.
Your magic shall not save you.
So, yeah. Like, the only known existing Sky Skipper cabinet today sits squirreled away in the bowels of Nintendo of America. It got an airing in 2016 as part of the Sky Skipper project, in which Nintendo permitted 7 arcade enthusiasts and preservers to scan and document the cabinet so that it could be build their own and keep the legacy alive. So it seems like Sky Skipper was a project that an arcade game that maybe never even got released. Let's see. Let me read the article a little bit. Sky Skipper was released in 1981 and was a follow-up to Nintendo's hugely successful Donkey Kong arcade game. It saw players piloting a biplane across the 4 levels in a bid to rescue various members of the royal family from the mischievous gorillas. Unfortunately, Sky Skipper's reception was lukewarm at best, and Nintendo dropped the game in 1982. It's believed to have repurposed all Sky Skipper's arcade boards, converting them to play its now classic Popeye game, and poor old Sky Skipper never even made it to the West. Let's see, so that certainly makes a lot of sense. Gotta keep that one. So I learned a little bit of video game history. That's always nice. I don't learn too much of it. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Wreckfest. It's published by THQ Nordic, and it's by Bugbear, which I think I've heard of Bugbear as a company, but it says it's their first game as a developer. It's a racing destruction simulation with physics and driving, according to the tags. I could see that one of the Codemaster games, one of the Dark games, certainly had some of those mechanics that made it start to feel a little bit more fun to crash and hit things. So making an entire game around crashing and hitting things sort of makes some sense.
You are the Shadow's puppet.
This Wreckfest is $44.99, so this is a big AAA game. It was a Steam greenlight. Also, upon purchase, Next Car Game Sneak Peek 2.0 will be added to your library, so apparently they're working on another car game. Let's see. It's Got 6,077 positive reviews and 2,313 negative reviews, which overall means it's positively reviewed. I heard Steam Greenlight pages, at least the public parts of them, have now been taken off of Steam, and that will be certainly interesting. It seems like while Steam is saying it's not going to censor things, it is definitely doing some cleanup work, and it's going to, with the non-support of XP and Vista, it is going to probably get rid of a lot of game listings for games that only support XP and Vista or earlier, I could certainly imagine some cleaning up the Steam listings and saying, look, if your game at this point hasn't come out for Steam, we're gonna either transition it to Steam Direct or just lose it completely. The difference between Steam Greenlight is Greenlight was more of putting a concept on Steam, where just Steam Direct is you've got to pay for your product from the word go. And I think there is also some backfire there. I saw on my local news them still talking about that active shooter game that never came out, and so the news is making hay about that when there really is nothing that needs to be or should be said.
Right away.
Wreckfest, though, is too big of a game for me not to at least put on the wish list and keep an eye on. Next game we have on Steam is called Budget Cuts. This is the VR follow-up from the people who I think made the VR game where you're playing as robots who are doing human jobs as a form of entertainment. And it's the exact same concept. Again, it's just this time it's a bigger experience. And when you look at the trailer, it looks more like a game where you're sneaking around an office and fighting against enemy robots. And I think a significant amount of the game actually probably is that. And play.
Do my bidding.
Budget Cuts does look like a real game. It requires VR, unfortunately. It's 10% off for $26.99. And let's see how we are on positive. 97 positive reviews to 13 negative reviews. No real surprise there. It's out now. If you have VR, I'd say suggest looking at Budget Cuts. If not, it probably still would be a decent game to have in your wish list if you're planning on having VR. Let's see. Whenever a friendly person is healed, gain 1 card for this, or silence. I can't do all of these. I don't think I need the silence right now, so I'm gonna do this. And do this one. Attack. Attack. And play lines. Double my cards. Gamatsu has an article, Manga Kakaru for the PS4, launches June 19th. This looks like some kind of story about a manga artist. Let's see. Manga creation game Manga Kakuro was first launched for PS Vita in January. It will now launch for PS4 on the PlayStation Store for 800 yen. Or about, what was that, $10 or $1? I think it's closer to $10. That would make more sense. Let's see. Just draw 2 cards this time. I think I've got victory here.
Right away.
Game supports cross-buy, so buying one version of the game will get you the other version with no additional cost. However, since the PS version launched at 600 yen, the price has been adjusted now to 800 yen. Okay. Downloadable content will be available, most of which is free, but some of which costs 200 yen. So here at the bottom I had to scroll down. Manga Kakuro enables players to create their own manga even if you cannot draw or think of a story. It promises an abundance of characters, speech bubbles, scenery, and effects to arrange and combine to create your own manga. This is also there's also a first chapter generator which lets you generate a manga by playing through an adventure game. You can upload your manga to the yomiru.com directly from the game. So yeah, I remember seeing this game and thought it was a little weird and probably underpowered for what you're trying to do. It's probably a ripoff. I imagine if you want to make a manga and you can't draw, you're gonna have to get rather good at finding art and photoshopping art to match. If you want to just write a story, I bet you could probably rewrite a lot of mangas and do some cut and pasting to just do stories, but inherently you're wasting your time. You should just write a story. And if you want to make a manga and you can't draw, inherently I guess you're wasting your time because you need to have the ability to draw. So this is pandering to wannabes who, instead of doing the right thing, which would have been to gain some skill and practice and actually draw and actually write, instead it's just telling them they can pay to create art that they actually can't. So I'm not too hot on that concept. Let's see, if we did this, then we did this. Be interesting, I suppose.
Meddlesome insects.
And we have a game on Steam called Test Your Knowledge Cities. It's a single screen game. It looks like garbage. I would like to have a game on Steam that was like a Carmen Sandiego type. You go around the world and learn things about different countries and different cities. There's a slight problem of the facts you teach are probably going to have to be very generic and well-known facts because so much changes in a short amount of time. This game, though, is probably just a collection of stolen images on a single screen, ugly interface game. 33% off for 66 cents and one suspicious positive review. I'm surprised it even has that much. Let's look at this developer. This developer has made many other games, most of which are neutral at best. Let's see. So yeah, very low effort game.
Take heart.
Next game we have on Steam is called Slime Kingdom, and the trailer can't even show the game in full screen. They're showing it in its either the Unity or the Unreal Engine. You can see the interface. This is the most pathetic trailer I've ever seen, and I guess Steam now requires trailers. It's an early access free game, so I guess the price is right, but I don't think this should be on Steam. I don't think it should be anywhere. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, so yeah, first game from this developer, which I guess that's a good thing for as awful as Slime Kingdom looks. I need to burn through these a lot faster. Next game we have is Turbo Soccer VR. Unlike the other soccer game I just saw on VR, this one looks like you're actually on the field seeing humanoid players play and actually playing soccer. This is 10% off for $22.49. I assume soccer is probably starting to happen right about now, or maybe the championships are starting to happen, because we're seeing an increase in soccer games on Steam. Of course, you'll need VR, and this is the only game from this developer, so while I'm not really the expert on soccer games, I think you probably are still better off just playing FIFA and not trying to play in soccer. Inherently, if you're gonna play a soccer game in VR, what's the difference between that and just actually playing soccer outside? Like, why aren't you just outside playing soccer? Let's see.
Be gone!
Moving on, PC Gamer has an article. Madden 19 on PC is pretty darn playable with the mouse and keyboard. It turns the mouse into a virtual thumbstick that really works like a thumbstick. That's an interesting idea in the first place, of even trying to play a football game with a mouse and keyboard. But I have no interest personally in playing Madden, and because of that, let's see.
Let me change your mind.
Let's see. I can heal. Like, yeah, I have no interest in playing Madden 19, and I certainly wouldn't play it with a keyboard. Next game we have is called Traffic Giant, which harkens back to something like SimCity 1, where you're developing and working on street layouts. I don't know if it has anything else that you're doing with it. There are definitely buildings and such, but and 25 different types of transportation, but so you can add buses. But it certainly is like a direct and only focus on. Let's see. Need to hurry.
Your magic shall not save you. Be gone!
I'm actually winning here with this new top meta deck, so heck, if we get up to rank 10, I would be ecstatic. But on a month-to-month basis, I'm not sure I'm ever gonna have enough time to maintain or get up to higher ranks. This game has a 57 on Metacritic. Traffic Giant does.
Jaina.
And personally, I don't see anything here that
Shall
interests me.
bring victory.
Oddly, though, it is from the developer of Dark Souls Remastered and Injustice 2, so this is one of those games that they're probably re-putting out. Yeah, it came out originally in 2001, so 17 years ago. That starts to make a little bit more sense. It's definitely weird how re-releases or first-time releases on Steam or PC of old games from now better-known companies just kind of get mixed in as on the What's on Steam app with new announcements from first-time developers who are just putting out garbage. But I can't really look at everything and also demand some curation. The only thing I guess I could wish for is that Steam itself would label games that came out earlier than the day they were released on Steam as this is a retro game, this is an old game, first time on Steam, some kind of advertisement or element like that. Let's see, I'm looking at a game called 100 Chests, and they say it's an adventure casual open world puzzle. For the most part, it seems like it's a half decent idea of an asset flip where they've taken assets that look similar enough, placed them around a world that looks similar enough, and you're, I think, just wandering around looking for the 100 chests and opening them. But that's a pretty boring game, even for $2.99. Like, there is definitely a flaw in that logic. Let's see. Play this early and do 2 damage to this.
Job done.
Let's see. Yeah, about the game says 100 chests is an adventure exploration game where you task to find all 100 chests throughout the world. Travel different planets and find all chests hidden through each world to obtain new rewards. Like, okay. And they're saying it's like the game The Witness and the Talos Principle and some of the big games I know that are sort of sort of exploration games, but man, I cannot recommend this. And this is from a developer called William Brown, and I vaguely recall, maybe I'm misremembering this, but I vaguely recall that William Brown has put some kind of games on Steam before, and even though it doesn't seem like that is the case right now, so maybe there was 2 William Browns or what. This still is too low of an effort, in my opinion, for a game. It doesn't have enough of a gameplay mechanic. It doesn't have enough of an interesting looking idea. Moving on, we have a game that looks somewhat similar in the Unity asset stance, called My Super Tower 3, which is labeled as an early access indie strategy adventure game, and the menu looks awful. Let's go and play this. And it's a tower defense game. Who would have guessed with a name like that? 20% off for $3.99. They're already up to the 3rd tower defense game in this series. My Super Tower 2 has mixed reviews with 62% of the people saying it's positive, and there's no other game rated by this developer, just the bundle that's rated positive.
Amazing. Pinch of death cup. Heal of soup.
This is an interesting strategy we have here. I only have like 8 and 10 spells, and then I have a bunch of characters. We have Lego The Incredibles out today on Steam. It's only got 6 user reviews right now, but it's hitting 63.89%. It's a Lego game. It says it's open world, action adventure with superheroes. So one assumes that this is covering, let's see. Yes, it's covering both The Incredibles and The Incredibles 2 movie storyline. So that's nice. I think that's better than what we got with Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens, where that was literally one game that one game for one movie, and there's a lot of stretching out of gameplay because of that. Lego The Incredibles is $39.99, so I guess the games are getting a little bit cheaper in that case. And the minimum requirements for graphics is a GTX 560 or an Intel Iris Pro 520 or Radeon 5850 and DirectX version 11. And in my opinion, unless it's just my 970, these games just don't work on my PC, and yet I keep buying them. Partially because I think they might also run on Macs, partially because I think they might also run on
Do not fear. Fear those who
this one
wield
may not have Mac support at all, actually. I don't know how to see that. I'm hoping at some point. Here's a not recommended review saying you have to play the Incredibles 2 portion first. Why?
I wonder.
Let's go ahead and take this. Counterspell that. Alright. You want to play that way? Then we'll do this. Next not recommended. The game is fun, but I played with a controller and the game just freezed and I exited the game because of the bug. The game has a lot of bugs, don't buy it for PC. Perfect review for every single Lego game that's ever come out on Steam. It's the PC version they don't care about. I don't know why they even bothered to put them out there. It's insulting. WB Games clearly doesn't care. I mean, they did the same thing with their big Arkham Batman game series too. They put out such a bad game that even in its own for the first time ever, Steam took a game off of sale.
Fire, burn, and cauldron bubble!
Is someone injured?
Get this.
Job's done.
In return. Moving on, we've got a game called Proto Life, which is a tower defense game. Graphics are pixel dot graphics, and it's like characters are crawling through veins. these squares. Interesting.
I must
It's an
decide.
interesting idea for a tower defense game, but it's still a tower defense game, which is pretty lazy. So yeah, I'm not interested in Proto-Life. I'm more interested right now in just playing this game.
Right away. Revenge.
Job's done.
Let's see. Next game we have on Steam is called Brotherhood United. It has a cartoony, flat, slightly pixely animation to it. It's a side-scrolling shooter, it seems. It's labeled an action indie 2D shooter platformer. Doesn't look bad. It's just an art style that generally I don't appreciate. It's in English, French, and Portuguese, Brazil. That's an interesting one. 10% off for $4.49. And since I'm feeling generous today, even though it doesn't have any reviews, I think you'll keep an eye on this one. Like side-scrolling beat-ups, side-scroller platformers, things like that. I'm still not certain.
Awaken, my children.
Like, I'm still not there or certain as far as what and how many of those games I want to play. I probably should go back and play Streets of Rage or something very well known as an idea of, is this even a genre of games that I'm interested in. Next game we have is called Freddy's Journey. Action indie. It looks like it's just a bunch of shapes and colors, and I almost appreciate the foggy color filter they have over the colors instead of having them be bright neon. But yeah, there's just no game here. It's for $1.99, and that's an easy enough one to close. I can kill pretty much one of these.
Be gone!
This and then this
Meddlesome insects.
and then this.
Job's done.
Let's see, they're just back to 30, and if you let them get back to 30, it's hard to win. Next game we have on Steam is called Avenging Angel. They're saying it's a storyline, first-person adventure game set in a steampunk world. It's tagged with RPG, adventure, action, or first-person action adventure. However, it's mixed right now with 45% of 11 user reviews. So people have been willing to play Avenging Angel and review it, and they don't like it, which is sucky because this looks good. This looks like a real game. It came out June 15th, 2018. It's $17.99, no discount. So what are the reviews? Let's see. First not recommended review.
Your soul shall
In
be
my
mine.
language, 36
The light shall
reviews,
bring
mostly
victory.
negative. Says no clear objective indicators involved in any way during the gameplay. The graphic looks intense and amazing, but it will not change my negative opinion of the basic gameplay mechanic. The game needs to update a marker system since the maps are way too big and the structures in the maps are way too complex to play without any hints existing. I believe is what they mean to say there. Let's see. Here we have a not recommended review that says there was a small update in 2015, and then they were writing the review in 2016, and for over a year there's been no update. Oh, so I can see here's a not recommended. It says it's over ambitious. So somebody got very over ambitious and got a lot further than I have seen other developers get. Like you've got a game here that looks pretty, so unless the person who was doing all the good work left, I don't know. This is from a developer who's self-publishing, and it's their first game on Steam. And I've never really been a proponent or thought too much about companies going out of business and then potentially their assets getting purchased by other people and made into a better game. But in this instance, I think you might be better suited if Avenging Angel was like repurposed, because there's visual assets here, there's an interface here, there's gameplay here. It seems like it just needed more work, and it didn't get it. And that's a shame. Maybe... No, I don't even have faith that Avenging Angel would somehow get better over time. I think it will only get worse and worse.
Go away.
Let's do that. Let's see, we have somebody on the chat. Alexander said good luck. Okay, thank you. Didn't have to call me a nasty name after that, but thanks for the good luck anyways. Moving on, we have a game called Tavern Keep on Steam. It's a management game where you can purchase upgrades and help various customers to keep your tavern alive. And it looks like one of those games where you're serving food with horrible graphics, very dark imagery in the fact that it's just dark and hard to see. This is medicine. So let's do that. They want $4.99 for Tavern Keep. There's no reviews. I wouldn't give it 60 cents. It's first game from this developer. Let's move on. Next game we have on Steam is called Sea of Lies Tide of Treachery Collector's Edition from our friends at Big Fish Game. I don't know why I keep calling them our friends at Big Fish Games. I don't know any of them. Big Fish Games is the company that floods Steam with hidden object games. This is a hidden object games. They are classically overpriced. Not bad products, but overpriced, and they're labeled as collector's editions when they really are just the initial release. This game is $12.99 per hidden object game, which is too much. The good news is, though, that at least Big Fish Games knows not to flood Steam too much, so we only see one, maybe two of their games come out per week, which I think is probably more than should be allowed still, but it's hardly the troll developers and publishers I've seen that put out garbage games every single day, or 2 or 3 per day. Let's see.
Let me change your mind.
Let's try that. Next game we have is a game called Ding Dong XL. Seems like you're just bouncing around fractal images, or images of shapes that are breaking into fractals. Neon coloring. Let's see. 13 positive reviews. I'm surprised it even has that many. But I'm also suspicious it has that many. Ding Dong XL is 25% off for 74 cents. So the price is right. It's rated 100% positive. Like a lot of the games made by this developer who seems to be making kind of the same thing over and over again. So I suspect this is vote manipulation. Don't have any proof, but I suspect some vote manipulation is going on here, and that's why these games are rated that positively when they really shouldn't be.
You have no idea what I'm capable of.
Let's see. Yeah, and certainly that game doesn't interest me. Next game we have on Steam is called Deluded Mind. It is tagged as indie, gore, violent adventure, horror, first-person shooter. You wake up in a psychological institute and find that you've been given potent hallucinogen. As you cross corridors in the asylum, you notice that there's something wrong with you. The hallucination shows the effects, and they're literally putting you in hell on earth. I think you'd probably better phrase that as through hell on earth. Alright. Let's look at the trailer. So I'm seeing some dark screenshot syndrome, definitely, where you're like flickering and flashing through different, like one perspective that the hallway is darkly dark and lit by a flashlight, and then it flickers, and then the hallway is even darker and more, the walls are damaged and decrepit. And that's kind of it. Now I'm looking at a ridiculous looking flame effect on a bed with a teddy bear floating over it. This is one of those games that somebody has the idea of a horror game, and that's not what you need. Like horror movies, which are the thing to really look at when comparing horror video games, are cheaply written. Nobody cares really too much about the story. I love the story in horror movies myself, but most people that are looking at them don't care about the story. They want the visuals, they want the audio, they want the jump scares. They want maybe some psychological horror in setting, but it's very, very audio visual. So if you're going to tell a horror story, you've got to have the money behind it and the skill behind it to actually make it look really, really realistic and really, really good. I don't think you're doing much telling a horror story if the graphics are 3D and trying to be realistic but are nowhere close. If you can't do that, then you're getting closer to the realm of doing a Japanese style horror story where it's a flat animated story, and you're going to have to then have a good art style still, but it doesn't have to look realistic, but it has to be consistent, and it has to be capable of bringing in the characters. A lot of the Japanese horror things for me don't bring me in to the point where they would actually be scary, or they don't intrigue me enough to the point where they'd be scary. So there's definitely issues. Issues there that are just not considered, and Deluded Mind certainly didn't consider it. It's 15% off for $11.04. I wouldn't pay 50 cents for it, because you just don't know if there's any game there, and I don't care. I would argue that there are a lot of game developers who play games on Steam that have deluded minds. I think a lot of people will probably argue that I, in some ways, have a deluded mind. I mean, most YouTube creators probably are a little deluded, even in my pretty consistent attempts to not be that way.
Let me change your mind.
But it is important to try to know the reality of situations.
Shells up!
And whether or not you can, within your effort, time, and resources, create the idea in your project in a good way. When I play with Legos, which I'm doing much and much more, or build with Legos, maybe it's a little immature to say play with Legos, but that's basically what I'm doing with them. I try to be realistic and look at the mediocre collection of pieces I have. I'm certainly not an expert at sitting on millions and millions of pieces of Legos, and so that comes into calculation about what, if anything, I can build. And sometimes I'll think I might be able to build something, and then I'll look and I'll say to myself, no, actually this is not doable. And I don't think enough people who put games on Steam realize, no, this project's not doable. This will be a last recording for this recording. Last game for this recording. Moving on, Gematsu has an article, Code Vein Season Pass and the Japanese digital pre-order bonuses and the in-game hot springs have been announced. So let's scroll down and look at all of this. Code Vein is a story that's going to be very weird, and I think it is coming to the West. I wouldn't be surprised if this in-game hot spring is not in the Western version. Although even in this time at least, they're showing a female character fully covered in a towel getting in the hot spring. Let's see. Code Vein is due out worldwide for the PS4, Xbox One, PC on September 28th. It's coming out on the PS4 and Xbox One September 27th in Japan. So there's a slight benefit. Let's see, and then there's a trailer. As I understand it, Code Vein is this world of two competing vampires, and it's a RPG. It looks like a lot of character customizations, and there's like a queen evil vampire that can turn other creatures into like zombie things just through a mist. And it's, I think, the next game from the developers of Bloodborne, if not the Prepare to Die game. What is that one called? Can't control something. We can do this and take this and kill that. Yeah, it does look like it is rather a Bloodborne-esque game. Dark Souls, that's the name of the series. So there's a lot of attention for Code Vein, even though I know it seems like they want to go in a different direction, and it's not just tell a different story in the exact same gameplay mechanics. I think they probably want to slowly introduce some other gameplay mechanics too. Here we have a game on Steam called Demolition Ball, which looks like it is a one-screen simple Arkanoid clone game, but somehow they figured out a way to make a trailer on top of a trailer using some kind of generator element, some kind of generator site, which is interesting trick. And they're asking for $5.99 for a game I wouldn't spend 50 cents on. All these terrible Arkanoid clones.
Awaken my children. Job's done.
No, I'm not really paying enough attention as I'm trying to get up higher in ranked. But that's what's going on. We have a game called Escape the Grid VR, which is bright colored neon graphics again, and seems like you have to wave your hands back and forth to walk forward, and seems like it's more platforming, but platforming really just by waving your arms back and forth. What kind of game? Why would you even make a game like that? Let's see. Not poisonous.
Your magic shall not save you.
That.
Job's done.
Return. Escape the Grid is 10% off for $4.49. I don't see anything here that really interests me.
Your magic shall not
It's not
save you.
pretty for a VR game, which kind of destroys the idea of the VR. It's blindingly bright neon colors from what I can tell. It looks like it's just an experiment that's being sold for money. Yeah, I'm not making it up the rank to rank 19. So maybe I really am only as good as a rank 19 player. I still have a considerable amount of spells to play, and I probably need to go to the European account and double check to see if there's anything to do there. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. With any luck, if I can really rush through all the games, we'll be done in the next recording. That's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, gift me a game on Steam. The Steam Summer Sale is coming up. If you want to gift me a gift card on Steam, that works too. And otherwise, if you have like a Steam code from Humble Bundle or someplace, you can direct message that through Twitter. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.